So my name is John. So for context, I'm an architecture student. So a lot of my work is like informed by the things I've learned in school and like me trying to experiment with the tools I've learned and things like that. I'm quite interested in like this question of how we think about nature as like a part of us, and I'm just trying to with this project especially, I'm trying to like question that. So Open Offering 1 is about, it centers around a shed that was built in response to a tree, the Lornix regia tree, which is what we usually call flame of the forest. Because the tree was doing something interesting, quite aggressive, growing out to this patch of like light. It was at the footpath. So it was quite moving, so I decided to build a shed to bring attention to the tree. So Open Offering 1 is about re-spatialising the relationship between the shed and the tree. So because the shed derives a lot of meaning from being so close to the tree, so what does it mean to take the shed out of that context and put it in an art space, like a very white space, and then like detach it, but also maintain that connection. So there's a map that I made of the space between art outreach and the tree, the actual tree's position, and I used sort of like the usual sort of like architectural sort of like site plan view of like this space. But what I did was really be careful about the geometry. So the line that you see below actually corresponds to the line of the wall, the back wall of art outreach, and then the tree's position is marked on the top. And then what I did is describe the angle between us and the tree in a way that doesn't use degrees, because angles and stuff, when you get into that, like you start to have to deal with like intervals, and it brings in a lot of inaccuracy counterintuitively. So this triangle that it was made actually describes our sort of spatial relationship right now between us and the tree, but also allowed me to make a tool. So the wooden triangle that you see, I use it to set up and dial in the angle of the shed and the grid that surrounds the shed. So it's like a bit more accurate, but also a bit more meaningful for people to see the materials that I use. Yeah. And then I also have documentation that I did of the shed's roof. So the leaf litter that fell onto the roof, because the roof is transparent, it's very easy for me to see. So over the course of the 45 weeks that the shed was there, every 2 weeks I would return every Friday, every 2 Fridays rather, to draw what was on the roof. So it allowed me to spend time with the tree and the shed, but also think about not just the shed affecting the tree, but how the tree was affecting the shed in some way, or bringing character to the shed. Because leaf litter, you don't usually pay attention to that. So I used dotting kind of like language or way of drawing the roof of the shed, because the idea is that I'm drawing everything at the scale of the leaf and describing materials of the roof at the scale of the leaf. And it allowed me to also, the way that I did it was like a scroll, so I could see like just that portion, that small portion, every time I did it. But when I actually set up in art outreach, I actually realized that you can see the different seasons. Like you can start to see the fruits of the tree appear at a certain point and stop accumulating at a certain point, which marks like perhaps suggests the fruiting season of the tree. Then later on in December, around there, the rainy season came, so it started to wash away the leaves and stuff like that. So it became a very interesting way of understanding what the tree was doing, but also what the tree was doing over time. The leaf litter that you see here is actually punched by the visitors the willing visitors that would want to punch the leaf litter. So the leaf litter is made out of egg cartons, which is quite good for being part of a compost for the tree, which is the final part of the offering. So I think in terms of the more artistic gesture, it's also about making up for the distance that we've put between the tree and the shed. So previously, being near to the tree, we have the privilege of having the leaf litter around us. So this is like making up for it. So also doing some kind of accumulation, doing some kind of scattering, but using the labor of the visitors and stuff like that to do that. And there's also a way for people to like participate in their own way of giving back to the tree, because this will be made as compost for the tree at the end. And also, I think on another layer of it is also, I was trying to think about how to get people to participate without it being too difficult. Because I think participatory art if the barrier is too high, I feel like I don't want to participate because I'm afraid, oh, is this good enough, or like, what am I actually doing, and then is this good for the art? I'm not sure. But this is very simple task, simple enough for the barrier to be low, but complex enough for you to feel like you're doing something of value to the tree. It allows me to sit around also to like talk to the visitors, like so that we're not staring at each other. Yeah, which is very confrontational. We are able to do something. So I think a few things. So one is that this is the original shed. So like it's the shed that accumulated all the dirt and like cracks and stuff. So that the memory of that place is still within this. I would say the shed. And then things like still point. So the original principle of the shed was to point towards the tree and bring attention to the tree. So I maintain the angle. So I try to shift the space. So not just conform to the space that was given in hearth, but also turn it on the axis a bit, so there's a like slight deviance, and also think about how to suggest the presence of the tree, because I think if I put pictures of the tree up there, it's less impactful than not showing the tree so much and like suggesting its presence, like very real presence there. So that's what I try to do. I think it's because I wanted to build something. So the reason why it's a shed and not like, let's say like a platform or a piece of like floor, is because I wanted to provide shelter for people who wanted to spend time there, and then also it is to be inconspicuous, because you don't want it to be like too obvious, like a too gestural, because you want to bring attention to the tree, not the shed itself, and it has to be fit along the corridor, like in terms of not the corridor, I mean the pathway. In terms of scale, proportion, it should look like it's part of the setting. Yeah, so it's like almost like a bus stop kind of thing. So my dad is from Philippines. So Philippines uses a lot of bamboo stuff, especially for even big structures. So I guess I took a lot of inspiration from the way they use, or rather the way they think about the structure as like things that you put together and it derives strength from being together rather than being like singular bamboos. Yeah. So that's my main inspiration, using like bamboo and stuff like that. I think one main thing is, I guess, thinking about attention. So attention is not just like staring at the thing. It's like there's different ways of paying attention to a certain thing. So for me, it's like paying attention to a tree, right? What that means can take on many different forms. And then I guess the exhibition is about also what it means to maintain a relationship, even though like you're so far away and like it's in a very abstracted space, how you still bring meaning to that relationship that still exists between us and them. Another one is also thinking about how you connect with urban nature, because like it's not like this tree is very specific in the sense that it's in an urban setting almost. It's not like a tree in a forest where it's like it grows. It's like it was placed there by people, right, by men. And then I guess this is also about thinking about the value of these things that sit in a very weird position, like it's planted by man and like it's there to serve man, but also it takes on its own life. So I think because I'm from an architectural background, so usually architectural presentations is about like showing how much work you did, and then like showing, okay, this is the final thing, and then this is why my idea is so great, and then like you want people to judge you like whether this is correct or wrong or wrong, and then that makes a very certain way of presenting things. With this, like in a more artistic setting, it's a bit more challenging for me, because originally my proposal I felt was like about like just vomiting all my documentation. But then I realized actually there's more subtle ways or more powerful ways of presenting things, especially from the things I've seen, gaining inspiration from the previous versions of hearth. Yeah. So yeah, it was quite challenging to reconstruct the shed here, because I had to allow wildlife like ants, lizards, snails that were inside the bamboo to evacuate, so I had to leave it there for a while. I didn't really want to bring like ants into the very clean space that you have. That's one challenge, one major challenge actually, because yeah, that took some time. And then also I think it settled, this shed settled there in the context very well. It was there for like 45 weeks, so it was very comfortable there. When I came here, I had to like take it apart and then like put it back in a way that was similar enough that it was there. So it's like I had to make sure that that pole in that specific spot is more or less in that specific spot in relation to the rest of the shed. Yeah, so I had to pay attention to that. So I think the spatial relationship between the shed and the tree was very important because it's very obvious that the shed was built for the tree, it's next to the tree, and then it's leaf litter and everything. It informs the character of the shed as well. So I think here, when it was there, I guess viewers or passers-by would engage with the tree more, whereas here people engage with the shed a bit more, and then they start to wonder, you know, what the shed is for, because the shed is a very functional object. And because the main purpose of the shed is to shield people against the elements and stuff like that. So when they come here, I think they approach it almost like a sculpture, and like a sculpture that has a meaning that's referencing something else that's very far away. So that's quite interesting. That's one difference I noticed between the visitors at the shed before and now the visitors here. Yeah. I think being part of Hearth is very meaningful for me because it allowed me to see also, at least this is a personal interpretation, but like me as part of almost like a cohort, like different projects, right? And then I'm very interested in seeing how I belong or fit with the other people in the same like program, and how each person sort of uses the space differently and engages with the participants differently. Yeah. That's one way I find very interesting for me and being part of Hearth. Another thing is also, I think Art Outreach has been super generous in like guiding me, like because it's my first time sort of like doing something in this artistic kind of like field. Guiding me in terms of very practical things like from setup, what I should be doing in terms of lighting and things like that. Also like on the sites that I really have no time to do, like social media, things like that, you guys already have an audience, so it's a very good and very generous way of like allowing artists to tap into that. I think one of the key learning points for me was this idea of filling up the space. So in architecture, usually for architecture school, we have like 2 panel boards and then we fill up, like we just load it with content. But given such a big space like this, I think one of my key learning points is yes, filling up the space, but in a meaningful way, in a like very light touch kind of way, because I think it's very overwhelming and unfocused if like you fill up too much of the space. So coming here and like experiencing other artists under Hearth, and also coming here and like trying to think about how my project fits in, allow me to experiment with these things, like filling up the space but not overloading it with content. Yeah.